This 12-year-old girl unalived her whole family because she watched a movie. This is Jasmine, a 12-year-old girl obsessed with vampires. And she really, really loves her 23-year-old boyfriend, Jeremy. It all began in 2006 in Canada, in a small, peaceful town where everyone seems to know each other. Well, until they didn't, because in that neighborhood lived 12-year-old Jasmine. And let me tell you, she wasn't quite like the other girls her age. While most 12-year-olds were busy watching the Disney Channel, Jasmine was deep in the dark corners of early social media. I mean, I've been on some crazy sites before, but she somehow managed to make her way onto a vampire website. And she wasn't just scrolling through, she was making adult friendships, posting photos that were way too grown up for her age, and showing a growing obsession with serial killers. The vampire website she was on was basically an old version of social media for goth kids. It was a chat room for edgy kids that thought they were vampires, with way too much time and eyeliner. And that's where she met Jeremy, a 23-year-old guy who claimed to be, and I'm not kidding, a 300-year-old werewolf. He used to wear a tiny vial around his neck, supposedly filled with blood. Yeah, he was really out there like Twilight, but with no budget and way worse decisions. But Jasmine didn't see that. Instead, she was completely fascinated by his gothic personality. Why? Because she was 12, remember? So she's probably thinking, oh my god, he's so mysterious. He wears black. And of course, Jeremy thought Jasmine was fine too. So, guess what? They start dating. Just your average tween goth romance, except he's 23 and she's 12. Totally normal, right? Well, you can probably already tell this isn't going to end well. Because when a man who claims he's a vampire starts dating a 12-year-old, it's not a love story. It's a huge red flag. And now comes a real twist. Jasmine's parents find out about Jeremy, and as expected, they weren't thrilled. They were like, you're what? He's 23 and you're 12. Yeah. A pretty reasonable reaction, honestly. They banned her from seeing Jeremy, told her to end it, and even took away her access to the internet for a while, which to a 12-year-old might as well be the end of the world. And that was when something inside Jasmine seemed to change. She began telling her friends that her parents ruined her life, and to some friends, she even hinted at wanting to get rid of them, but no one took her seriously. They thought she was joking. Well, they were wrong, because even Jeremy didn't take the separation well. He started writing dark poems, dramatic stuff about revenge and forbidden love, which made Jasmine fall for him all the more. And Jasmine, completely lost in his fantasy world, had an idea, and not a good one. She allegedly began sending messages saying things like, I have this plan. It begins with me and ends with me living with my lover. Yeah, totally normal 12-year-old things to say, right? And Jeremy, he actually encouraged it. Well, I love your plan, but we need to get a little more creative with the details. Creative. That was his word. And what they created next would horrify the entire world. Jeremy proposed to meet at Jasmine's place, just asking her to sit and watch a movie with him. That movie was a 90s horror movie called Natural Born Killers. If you haven't seen it, it's basically based on a young couple that fall in love. They take out the woman's parents and then go on a violent spree across America. It's dark, absurd, which pretty much explains why it was Jeremy's favourite. But now it's become Jasmine's obsession too, because instead of just watching it and moving on, she took notes. And we all know the reason. By April 2006, just days after watching Natural Killers, Jasmine and Jeremy decide to bring their fantasy to life. Except this time, it wasn't a film set, but Jasmine's own home. As planned, Jasmine left the basement window unlocked. That's how Jeremy sneaked into Jasmine's house, dressed in black, wearing a mask. But as he entered, he made a noise that woke Jasmine's mother. Jasmine's mother, Deborah, woke up and went to check the noise downstairs. That's when Jeremy attacked her. Jasmine's father, Mark, came to his wife's rescue and tried fighting him back with a screwdriver, but Jeremy overpowered him. It was brutal, and by the time it was over, both parents were sadly unalived. The house went quiet. Then Jasmine walked upstairs to her little brother Tyler's room, where she thought it would be too cruel to leave him as an orphan. So she attacked him too. And just like that, the Richard family was gone. The next morning, neighbors noticed something was wrong. Curtains were still drawn, no one was answering the door, and the family car hadn't moved. I mean, how on earth did the neighbors even notice that? I wouldn't notice if my neighbors went missing for a month, let alone a day. Luckily, they had better neighbors than me and thought it was suspicious. So they called the police. When the police finally got involved, they discovered the scene and realized that one of the family members were missing. For a moment, they thought she'd been taken, but when police looked through Jasmine's emails and journals during their investigation, everything became clear. She hadn't been kidnapped at all. She'd been talking non-stop with the same guy she planned it all with, Jeremy. And now you'd think after doing something that awful, they'd be scared and hiding somewhere, right? But no, Jasmine and Jeremy were just hanging at a friend's house, laughing, holding hands, and talking about running away together. Yeah, real smart move after a murder. But here's the thing, they didn't get to laugh for long. Police were already closing in, and before they knew it, they were caught. They were caught less than a day after the murders. I guess running away forever didn't last long, but the arrests were just the beginning. During the investigation, authorities dug deeper and recovered text messages and emails. Turns out, Jasmine had actively been recruiting Jeremy into her plan, and she even bragged about how clever her strategy was. Investigators also found a notebook in her room titled Plans, filled with notes about the murders, escape routes, and every awful detail you could imagine. Well, it turns out I have something in common with a serial killer. If I went on to unalive someone, my notebook would also be titled Plans. Damn! Premeditation much. Meanwhile, the entire town was in shock because no one could believe that a child, a 12-year-old, could plan something this horrific. The news spread everywhere. Vampire couple, werewolf boyfriend, movie madness. Everyone wanted to understand why, which I don't get. Why does everyone always want to know why? Why did someone commit murder? Why is Trump orange? Why did someone drown their pet goldfish? Who cared? And of course, people started pointing fingers at the movie that supposedly inspired it all, because blaming Hollywood is way easier than actually facing the real issue. As per usual, blaming someone else, because taking accountability is too much work, I guess. During the trial, the truth came out piece by piece. The love letters, the online chats, the movie obsession, all of it. Each new detail made the whole thing sound less like a crime and more like a twisted screenplay come to life. But when the spotlight finally turned to Jasmine, her defense was simple and unbelievable. She said it was all just a fantasy. But fantasy or not, 3 people were unalived. And that's not something you can just walk away from. The court didn't buy her excuse. The evidence was too strong, too detailed, and too dark to ignore. Finally, Jeremy was found guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison, with no chance of parole for 25 years. Jasmine's case was handled differently because of her age. Under Canada's Youth Criminal Justice Act, she became the youngest person ever charged with multiple murders in the country. She spent 10 years in custody and in therapy and was released in 2016. By then, she was in her 20s, and according to reports, she'd changed her name and moved on. Crazy story, right?